you got a product here that they say for every 1 tonne of biomass, which is the stuff above the ground, you get 1.2 tonnes of CO2 carbon stored.
So it's a cold Saturday morning. We're in Dandenong South outside Eagle Masonry, and I'll get to why we're there in a moment. But first, I want to introduce Doug Rennie, who's a farmer from New South Wales, drove down last night, overnight or last night, to be here for something very interesting, but we'll get to that. Let's start with you, Doug. You're a farmer. Did you always want to be a farmer from when you were young? Did you beg your dad to drive the tractor when your feet could touch the pedals?
Oh, yeah, I tossed and turned a bit growing up. I grew up on a spud farm in Hillston, New South Wales, and then went to boarding school, to university, and then I was originally going down the finance route. And then COVID happened, so I came home. I didn't want to be in the cities for the lockdowns, and then ever since then I've kind of been stuck on the farm.
Yeah.
Came home, started helping out, and as we've gone along, more and more work, and we've started going down this hemp route.
Yeah, right. Okay. And so your father also is a farmer, yeah? Have the Rennies been farming for a while?
Yeah, Dad, he started farming. Well, he grew up on a farm as well in Alexandria, and then over his life he got into potatoes and moved up, kind of made his way to the border at Berrigan there, and then from there he bought a farm in Hillston, and for 30 years we grew potatoes.
Right, okay. So tell me a little bit about Hillston first, like in terms of the land. What kind of land is it? What's the soil like? What tends to get grown in that area?
Well, when he first came there was not a lot. It was dry land. There was underground water, but no one was really utilising it. And that's just because it's pretty harsh country out there. That's
right.
Low in organic matter.
Right.
It's, what do they call it? Desert cropping.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Low rainfall. It's pretty marginal country.
Yeah, right, okay. So what conventionally were the crops that you could get away with growing there? What could you grow?
Cereals, yeah, so your wheats, and then there was a few, it's just an hour and a half north of Griffith.
Yeah.
And then, so they grow rice, a bit of that, but there was no real horticulture crops.
Right. So it wasn't really until the irrigation came along that they could really make the land work for them, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Right, okay. And so what's it like these days? I mean, I suppose there's been a lot of talk around the weather changing and temperatures and all the rest of it. Is that impacting farming where you are?
Yeah, it definitely is. Like, yeah, probably a good way to explain it is you look at the advancements in agriculture, just technology, GPS, tractors and whatnot, and the yields from 30 years ago to now haven't gotten a lot better than what they were 30 years ago.
Okay, so around the world, all that technology is boosting yields and year by year, but it's not making any difference here.
Yeah, you would think that with the advancements in the technology that we should be going a lot bigger yields.
Yeah.
But I think you can probably relate it to the climate. It's changing, you're getting drier season. It's always been a marginal area, and it still is a marginal area, Hillston, out there.
Yeah, right, okay. And so because of that, so did you say that you were potato farmers before, or that the farm was growing potatoes, or no, that was a different region, yeah?
Yes, so like Paul, my father, he saw a Smith Chips contract in the newspaper when he was about my age, 26, for 10 tonnes. So they just had a little, I guess, hobby farm in Alexandria.
Yeah.
And well, his father farmed a few sheep and whatnot, so on the flats there they started going spuds. Yeah. And kind of made it work, and then they needed more land, so they went north where it was cheaper.
Yeah.
Bought a processing farm there to go processing potatoes in the sand.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, they kind of thought, let's get into the fresh market. So that's why they went to Hillston for the red brush dirt potatoes.
Right, okay.
And that's, in Australia, there's only probably 3 areas where you can go red dirt potatoes that have the irrigation.
Right, okay. Right.
And that's kind of what led them to Hillston.
But you're changing crops, I believe. What's happening with that? Why are you deciding to change crops?
Look, you're always looking for something else you can do and maybe do it a bit better.
Yeah.
But potatoes are only one piece of the puzzle. You need a crop rotation. They only go for a certain time of the year.
Yeah.
Like we landed on hemp, and that was mainly because when I first came home, we were looking.
So you were off the farm for a little while, and then I think during COVID you came back and joined the farm again, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. So came back over, then love doing what we do, like farming and whatnot. So
Yeah.
we want to do it for another 50 years, and the way we kind of have been farming traditionally, it's not something that you would be able to do for the next 50 years.
Right. Why is that?
Because basically, conventional farming, every year we put more and more and more fertilizer on,
Yeah.
more and more and more pesticides, and commodity prices, like what we produce and sell at, they're not getting better, they're getting worse. So there's no margins in farming, they're getting worse every year. Even though as an industry, we're pioneering in a lot of ways. Every year what we do, we get better at doing it. But it's a tough caper, that aspect, and so we kind of need to find a way we can change.
Yeah. And so the prices are not getting better; they're getting worse. How are the yields looking over time? Are you seeing improvements in yields, or?
I would say, we're still average, and like I bet in our area, a lot of dryland farmers, and it's a marginal cropping area. So some years you'll get a crop, some years you won't. They say they kind of work on 1 in every 10 years, you'll get a crop that sets you up for the next 10 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
1 in every 10 years?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Has technology helped in that regard?
Yeah, I think so. If you go back to even when I was a kid and you used to drive a tractor, there was no GPS. You had to sit there and steer it, and I couldn't hit the accelerator with my feet. And then now you don't even have to turn them around. You just, as long as you've got weight on the seat, the tractor will drive itself.
Right.
2 centimetres precision.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a bit of technology there, and I presume, tell me a little bit about what you do traditionally, what you do to the soil to make it, yield, to boost the yield. What are the kind of things you do?
To the ground, so there's a lot in agriculture. I think mainly like the main things, and every year kind of looking at something different, but the main things for us would be precision plant is all the technological side of it, getting your seeds where you want your seeds to be, and then kind of working with the climate, not against it. So when you farm like cereals, if you just look at them, they've kind of worked out in our area that you're better off sowing in a window. So when it comes to about now, you sow your wheat. Every year, right now they're sowing into dry dirt. It hasn't rained in Hillston, like this year.
Wow.
So the worst thing that could come along is they get 4 mil rain, and all the seeds are going to germinate, but there's no moisture underneath them.
Right, okay. So is that a bit of a Hail Mary that they're putting in seed now after all that dry?
Oh, farming's a Hail Mary, mate.
Oh dear. So have you seen a change in the weather patterns over the years? You've been in that kind of area for a long time.
Have I seen a change? The first 10 years of my life was, the millennial drought.
Yeah.
It didn't rain really, like, from my old childhood, and then you get the odd rain, but it hurt the community a lot, that drought. And then we came out of that and we had a few good years, and then probably over the last 10 years we've had either a drought or a flood.
Right.
Yeah. And then I'd say the last four seasons we've had have been really good seasons. They're wet seasons. And as people always say, that there's money in mud.
Yeah.
Farmer.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a term that's I guess is getting used quite a bit, maybe overused a little bit, is the term regenerative farming. Would you say that you guys are regenerative farmers, and if so, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I'd say very much now we're going down the regenerative route, because when I came home from back to the farm, we were very much conventional, and that's, as I was touched on before, it's not something that's a sustainable practice that we could continue to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's just due to the synthetic fertilizers you put in the ground. You're killing all the biology that lives in the ground. And what we now understand about biology is that you need that to get the plant to have its trace nutrients. You can't have you can't have good healthy plants unless you have good healthy soils.
Right.
So we thought, and this is the regenerative angle, you want to look after your soils.
Yeah.
You want to care for your soils, because that's what's going to give you a crop yield.
Yeah. Okay. So that probably takes us directly on to a crop that you've been recently invested in. Can you tell us a little bit about the decision to move to hemp? and growing hemp? What was behind that idea?
Growing hemp, where did it start? I think originally we were just looking for crop rotation and cover crops we could put when we weren't doing our vegetable crops, potatoes and garlic.
Yeah.
So we just wanted something we could put shade over the soil with, and that's like UV is really bad for soil biology, just direct exposed grounds.
Yeah, right, okay.
So conventional, you just come in, you till your ground, you leave it bare soil, and then the sun would
Yeah,
kill all the carbon in the
Yeah.
UV, kills all the biology.
yeah,
So we were thinking we need to go over summer, we need to put covers in. So we started exploring what we could do and kind of landed on hemp in a roundabout way.
yeah.
And the more
So, are you saying, Doug, sorry, are you saying that the original plan growing hemp was really just to cover and keep the soil protected? Was that
Yeah,
the idea?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So not necessarily as a productive crop so much.
Not so much, no.
Right.
Like we thought, so there's two kind of crops you'll go, just your cover crops and then cash crops.
Okay.
And then we went down that path of mixed species cover crops, this regenerative ag model. And basically there are a lot of inputs to grow those crops, and you kind of need to see the yield benefits in your next crop, but it's a pretty hard thing to quantify that.
Yeah.
Every season's different.
Yeah.
So I spent 6 years down that path trying to convince my old man that this was worth doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because he's basically been part of the, I guess, the conventional farming kind of
Yes.
fertilizers and what have you, and
Because you Google regenerative agriculture, and the first thing it tells you about is better water infiltration, better nutrient mobilization, which is all really good things for plant health and
Yeah.
productivity. But
yeah.
to break away from the system that works,
Yeah.
you know, you put X amount of units of nitrogen on, you do this, synthetic fertilizers, you get a crop.
Yeah.
You've always gotten a crop, and then to go into all these other things, it's unknown.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And it's extra work, so you have
A
to
lot
see.
of work.
Yeah. So you have to see the benefits. So talking about regenerative farming, just for our listeners, describe some of what does that mean? Like conventional farming, regenerative farming. Give me the top few things that differentiate the two.
Yeah, I think at its core, and there's probably a lot of takes on regenerative farming, but regenerative is the approach that what we're doing is sustainable. You can continue to do it for the next 50 years. You're improving your soils. You're using less inputs for your crops, so it's better for the environment. And your crop health and the produce that you're producing is more nutrient dense off the back of it.
Right. Okay. Okay. And so that's the route that you've now firmly decided to go to do. You tell me about the I guess what was happening on the soil, like in the 10 years or whatever leading up to it. Were you seeing the soil getting depleted? Were you seeing that in the yields, or what was the status of the yields over the previous years?
Yeah, potatoes is a very good like a case study crop for
Indicator,
this.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they go under the ground.
Yeah.
So you come in for a potato harvester, you dig the ground up, you lift all your soil. When you're sitting on that seat, you can see everything, and then you need very, very good soil structure, soil aggregation. Otherwise, the dirt will just cake onto the potatoes,
Right.
and then no market will take them.
Right. Okay.
So when you're doing adverse things on the farm, any little error you make, it shows up great at harvest.
Right.
So in a big way.
Okay. Right. Okay.
And then what we'd learn is the conventional, your traditional kind of practice, you cultivate your ground, you go and you spray the shit out of it, and then you put all your synthetic fertilizers down, and over time this has led to our soil, in essence, become stupid. Like you've killed all the biology in the ground because they can't cohabitate with synthetic fertilizers.
They can't.
Nah.
So it's basically it's like an insecticide, or it's like a
Yeah.
biological bomb in a way.
And that's what we do. Like you put conventional, it's fungicides, it's insecticides, it's herbicides. So you just want to kill everything but your crop.
Right. Okay. Kill everything but your crop. That's the tagline.
Yeah.
Crikey. Okay. And so, but it's harder work to do it another way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's not so much harder, it's just a different mentality that you gotta approach it with.
Okay. Okay. Right. So you decided to move away, or not move away, but in addition to your cropping, to go down the route of hemp. Let's talk a little bit about hemp and why we're here. In fact, what are some of the qualities of hemp that bring soil health back?
Yeah, so originally we went to hemp as a cover crop because we thought, when we were pretty naive to this whole regenerative ag thing, we thought, we'll do this, it'll cover the ground, and then maybe we can harvest a seed crop off it. We'll see how that goes. And it kind of wasn't economical. Like hemp's, to grow it, you got to get licenses from the DPI, and there was a bit involved. So we went and did all that, and we're halfway down the road, and we thought, righto, how can we kind of make this work? Because the first crop we grew, the next potato crop after it, the soil was just, it had completely changed. And like to grow one crop and see the difference in the ground was unheard of.
The soil had completely changed between one crop and the next crop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like again with the potatoes, you go in and every time you check them up, you walk into the field, you dig the hill, check how many potatoes are under there. And normally, like a traditional growing season in Hillston, the ground will set hard, like gets a good crusting layer on it, and you kind of got to bust it open with your hands to even be able to dig the spuds out.
Yeah, right.
You walk in there after a hemp crop, and it's just friable. Soil was aggregated. You could just dig the hill out. The spuds came out easy.
Wow.
And they look good.
Yeah.
Real good.
Yeah, right. Why does can you talk a little around when you don't use hemp and you said you dig it up, it's really hard. Can you talk a little bit about what causes that compaction? Why does the soil get in a bad way in that way?
So, yeah, it's not so normal. Like we run center point irrigation.
Yeah.
And then there's a few things that lead to compaction in your ground. It's like you're running heavy harvesters over it, tractors over it, you're always cultivating, watering, like a lot of water also compacts your soil. And it helps it's like you'll find we work our soil to about 300 mil, sometimes 450. And you'll find if you dig down to 450 to the where you work it to, it's just like a rock under there. Like there's a compaction layer that's about 300 mil.
Wow.
And traditionally, your roots of your potato crops will go down to about that 450 where you rip to, and that's when they'll stall out. So that's kind of where everything was kept. Unless you go in and then you deep rip it to 600. But wherever you go to, that's where your compaction layer is going to be.
Right. And that's bad. Why? What happens with it?
Oh, it's like a plant. So your nutrients will leach through your soil profile. Some soils more readily than others, but eventually they get down, then they can leach through that compaction layer, but your plant roots and the water's through that compaction layer, but your plant roots can't get down there to access it. So we've had to. It's kind of like off this hemp. One of the biggest things it has is a taproot, like a real hard foraging taproot, and like we've dug test pits that go down 2 meters deep. And
the taproot goes down 2 meters.
Yeah. We dug at least 2 meters, and you can still trace the taproot through the wall all the way down to the bottom of the hole. It's just got sick of digging.
And presumably, then once you crop it, what happens to the taproot? Does it just kind of shrink, and then does that create little straws down into the ground? Is that what happens?
Yeah, exactly. So when you harvest hemp, like we come along, and you're taking the biomass on top of the field, which is about like they go 5-6 meters tall.
6 meters tall.
Yeah.
Right, 2-story building.
Yeah. It's an incredible crop. You don't believe it when you watch it. It's like we had crops growing 10 centimeters every day for 3 weeks straight.
Every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's like times where it just hammers. It'll grow. It's growing before your eyes. You can almost watch it grow.
Jeez. Wow. Now, just to clear up one elephant in the room, the hemp that you grow is not the hemp that the Australian Federal Police are interested in.
Nah, it's not. It's like no, almost no THC in it.
So don't go to Doug's farm and pick the leaves and try to smoke it. You might get a bit nauseous, a bit dizzy, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so different hemp. So that's kind of the narrative, I guess, around how hemp is a restorative for your soil, which is taking care of one thing. You mentioned there's the cash crop and there's the cover crop, or the various ways in which you take care of your soil in between its productive cash crop. So it's obviously really good for that. But am I right in thinking that not only is it taking care of the soil, but now there's an opportunity for it to be a cash crop? Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. So I think over after our first crops and the benefits we saw the soil, we saw the benefits, we saw what it did to the soil, we thought we're going to have to continue, find a way we can commercialise this crop.
The old man said, yeah, maybe you were right. We'll give it a go for a couple of years.
Yeah. No, and it was everywhere we grew hemp on our farm over 2 years. It was night and day, the difference it was doing to the soil.
Right. Okay.
And so then we thought, what can we do? We can't really sell the seed because for us there wasn't enough money in it. And so we started exploring this industrial hemp path. So let's make building materials out of it. So where that kind of led us, very young industry in Australia, and there wasn't really many people doing that. And the people we kind of ran into along the lines that could build the products, a bit like what we're doing today, they needed the hemp decorticated. So you have to remove the fibre, and then we call the wood chips are essentially hurd. So the hurd is essentially wood chip, and then you need a system which we call.
Hang on a second. You got them over here.
Yeah.
What you're talking about? This is the herd here. So as you say, it's essentially like wood chip, but that's basically the stalk, or that's the
That there. So that's essentially the fibre, what you can make clothes out of, a bit like linen.
Yeah, right.
Is the bark of the plant.
Right. Okay.
Essence. So you got to peel that back, and you get a big long strand of fibre. And this here is like the inner part of the plant, the core.
Right. Okay. So the clothes come off the outside of it,
Fibre.
and this is okay, right.
Yeah, and that there's your wood chip. So yeah, it's the core of the plant.
And the machine, this facility, you called it, is it a decorticator?
Yeah, decortication.
Okay,
facility,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had to make one, buy one, get one.
Yeah. Like when we were pretty green, hindsight's a beautiful thing, but we thought it wasn't going to be as hard as it was.
Yeah.
Because there was no research, there was nothing online. Like no one had really done it. There's a few getting going in the States now. So when we started, we were on our own.
Yeah.
And we had a bale of hemp, because when we cut it down, we mow it, windrow it, rake it, and then put a bale over it. So
Yeah.
we ended up with 1,000 bales of hemp. Like we got to do something with this.
We ended up with 1,000. You go,
Yeah.
what happens next?
Yeah, and so essentially we went to America.
Yeah.
No, my father did.
Yeah.
And then he found some guys over there in Texas that were playing around with it, and they were a bit more advanced with us, and they were more so looking into the fibre side to make clothing.
Okay, right.
But they'd played around with it enough, they kind of knew what worked and what didn't work, so we kind of piggybacked off them a bit, some machinery, and got one piece of machinery out of the States, and then that didn't work, and then we started building our own machines that could kind of handle it, and it took us about 2 years.
It's a journey, eh?
Yeah, of playing around until we kind of, 2 years, about 20 years off your life, until we finally found we could get a product, we could get it to run, the machines wouldn't stall out, and then we were putting herd out that side of the machine, and we're putting fibre out that side of the machine.
Right, okay. And fundamentally, that means what? That means like getting rid of dust, perhaps, and all things like that? Yeah.
So that's another thing, like you got to remove, like when you put a hemp bale in, you've got the leaves, you've got the stem, you've got all the stuff you don't want, and then you've also got the bulk of the plant, which is just that, it's a stalk with that fibre on it and the wood in the middle. And then you got to separate those two, and all the rest you got to collect that dust outside, wherever you want to collect it, and then the main thing, like the bulk of these products will be the hemp hurd, the wood.
Yep.
And then so that needs to be cleaned, sized and graded.
Yeah.
And then we can use it in applications like this.
So 1,000 bales equals roughly how many tons of herd, you reckon?
It's about, look, they say, again, can't give you definitive answers on this because, but they say about, you should have 20% fibre, 80% herd.
Right, okay.
Yeah. In a ton of biomass.
Right, okay.
But there's a lot of variations in that.
Yeah. So you're going through the process of processing it and getting this good quality herd, which goes, as we saw earlier, it's goes at different kind of grades, so you can get fine and medium and rough or whatever. Then there's this thing around demand.
Yes.
Where did you envisage demand coming from, and I guess what's the route to that market for you?
Yeah, so Well, it was okay. You got this hemp. What do you do now? You can't sell it. So we're gonna have to build a decortication facility to get it to a point where people can use it. And then from there, once you kind of, in the meantime, as we were kind of building all this decortication facility, we met people like Ghost and a few other guys around Australia that were just starting to tinker with it, and with the ideas that maybe it could replace wood chips, or maybe we could put it into a brick, make a panel out of it.
Yeah.
It's all kind of just ideas at this point. And then we've kind of, hold on, lost my train of thought here. I don't know what's next. I haven't done since then.
Well, I guess I guess let's just cut a line there. So you've got this crop, and you've spent 2 years and a lot of heartache and money getting it to a point where it separates the fiber from the herd, and now you've got this quantity of herd. You must have been thinking, we're doing this thing to get these massive amounts of herd. Where's the market going to be? You must have had some thoughts. So what, I guess, just optimistically, because obviously it's early days, but what's your projections? What are you hoping to be able to do with the herd?
Oh, I think, like I said, from a carbon perspective, just solely, if you look at that, like, you got a product here that they say for every 1 ton of biomass, which is the stuff above the ground, you get 1.2 tons of CO2 carbon stored.
Right, okay.
Like, of gas you're putting into the plant.
How does that work? Because that's a larger weight than the thing itself.
Because the plant, look, actual figures, it's roughly 50% carbon, the actual plant.
Right, okay.
So then, like, a solid of carbon's obviously got more gas in it. So yeah,
I see, right,
yeah.
okay, right.
It's pulling about 1.2 tons to a ton of biomass.
Yeah, right, okay.
So you grow these crops and you're getting yields of 10 to 20 tons to the hectare. It's a lot of CO2 you're pulling out of the earth. Sorry, out of the air.
Yeah.
And then,
can you get credits for that?
Yeah, you definitely can. There's not a hemp-based methodology at the moment. Like, there's still the risk of permanence periods. So you need to find a way you can utilise all of that biomass, essentially, because you can't have, the science wouldn't stack up if you got a big 30% byproduct. And what those byproducts are at the moment, we're still not certain, because we don't have a home for everything.
Yeah.
I think going into the future...
So byproduct, what you mean to say is that when you do all that processing, it breaks it down into different parts. Some of it's useful and productive, some of it's not. That's a kind of byproduct.
Yes.
And that obviously has a carbon impact as well, so you have to calculate that before you can work out what the whole carbon...
100%.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
And then that's like, because like Vera, they did a...
Vera is...
Oh, their carbon credit...
Okay, yep.
Quantifier,
Yeah.
I guess you can call it.
Yeah.
They had a methodology, but they retracted it on hemp because there was the issue, well, what are we going to do with the fibre? Like, where was it going? Was it going back into landfill? And that, so yeah, a bit more to go down the road on that. But you can compound the crop with, like, that's just what's happening above ground. What's happening underground, and this is why we're seeing so much benefit from the farming perspective, is the amount of carbon it's putting into the soil. It's unbelievable. And essentially in your ground, and this is tying it back into the regenerative farming model, all the microbiology that lives in the soil, and there's like 98% of what lives on the planet lives in the soil. So
98% of what lives on the planet is in the soil.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they say anyway.
We'll have to look that all
I've
up.
never counted them. But then the ability of the hemp plant to pull carbon out of the atmosphere and put it back into the ground, and this is what biology feeds on, carbon. It's like, there's no other crop that like even can come close to what it does. And that's why we're seeing such good benefits in our other crops.
Yeah.
Purely from that process.
Yeah. Do you in the farming community, obviously you all talk to each other. Are other farmers looking at what you're doing and with a degree of active interest, let's say?
Yeah, definitely. Look, all farmers, like, we're a pretty resilient bunch, and everyone's always looking for the next way forward. And what is that? It's still like hemp. There's not much evidence there, and like there's a lot of evidence to conventional farming that it works, and it continues. And I think as time goes on, farmers, if they see something working, we will pick it up.
Yeah. Well, when you say that from one crop to the next crop, the difference is night and day, then that's the sort of stuff that other farmers, I presume, would be pretty interested to hear about.
Like, we had some neighbours of ours grew some last summer, 2 summers ago.
Yeah.
And then they've just planted a cotton crop behind it this year, and like it's their best yielding cotton paddock.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And they did that as a case study just to see what would happen between the two.
Yeah, well, they kind of grew some hemp on this model that we were kind of putting together.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and they can't believe it. And that's purely just from the combination of it all. Like the carbon, the microbiology's being fed, it's multiplying up, that soil compaction layers, the taproot's broken through that, the nutrients, sub-nutrients that are down into the soil, the cotton's been able to get down there. Did it use a bit more water? Yes, because the water can go through the profile a bit more.
Yeah.
But it's all adding, like in agriculture, that's what we want. We want good soil infiltration.
Mm.
We want good nutrient cycling.
Yeah.
And all the rest. And
that's great. So now we're at Eagle Masonry, and we're doing a bit of a test today. Do you want to describe a little bit? There's guys in there that probably know what they're doing better than you or I.
Yeah, 100%.
But just broadly, what's the plan today?
So we've brought some of our hemp herd that we've grown and decorticated in Hilton up here to run a trial on the bricks to make bricks, and basically we'll put our herd as, I think, I'm not sure on the percentages, and then hopefully we can pump a brick out, and if that works and it's a case of it's testing, then this whole model will start to grow legs. We can grow more hemp.
Yeah. So when we say bricks, do we have we have an example over here. This is a recent model of I think you said earlier that they had about 50% hemp in that block. So the idea is just to produce standard construction blocks, yeah?
Yeah, at this stage.
Wow.
We're going to do them because there's a few properties that make having a hemp brick like this pretty appealing. Like hemp's very lightweight.
Yeah.
So like I don't know what that brick weighs, but 10 kilos or something.
Yeah.
I think the hemp bricks will be more like 3 or 4 kilos, but
right.
still have the same structural integrity.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe there's also plans to swap out the cement concrete cement with a different compound that was brought along.
Different resin, but I think that's all part of the secret herbs and spices.
Secret herbs and spices not to be shared. Okay. All right. Well, I think we'll go in and see what they're doing and see how long it takes to make a herb brick.
Very good.
Thank you. So normally they use a big feeder when they're using concrete, but today, because it's a small load, a small batch, they're manually loading it. And a lot depends on today because they have to get the mix just right so that it holds together properly when it comes out of the mold. And then they'll also test to see how long it takes for that thing to cure, because time is important. If it takes 5 days to cure or 25 days to cure, it can make all the difference as to whether it's a commercially viable or not. But this is the moment of truth to see whether this hempcrete blocks can work or not.
Well, the good news is that it was a very successful process, and the prototype has been curing well. It's proving to have the structural integrity that they're hoping for, and now their attention is turning to how to streamline the supply chain so this can be commercialized successfully.
And what's really exciting, Sam, about this is that in a way, this is almost like the byproduct. It's like the afterthought. Really, the first intention of these farmers was to improve their soil health. And then having found 1,000 bales of hemp on their land, what to do with it next. And so it's so exciting that this could, in fact, be something that is not just a matter of good intentions and responding to climate change, etc., but actually even if those things don't matter to you much, it makes sense that you plant this material that you make the money out of, first of all, making your land better. Secondly, that you can commercialize that. And thirdly, of course, the carbon credits with something that is sucking this amount of carbon out of the air is, tremendous potential, don't you think?
Very inspired by the entrepreneurial spirit that was evident in all of that, farmers who are paying close attention to the latest processes and science and thinking very creatively about not just their problems, but the opportunities that they're identifying. And I think that says a lot about, what humans are capable of. I find that very exciting.
I think on the macro, like at the larger scale, we're talking to these guys, with their one farm. But I think if you look at the potential for this, I did a little bit of nerding out on figures. And when you look at the sequestration of carbon that goes into every hectare of hemp, you can see that if you compare it, let's say one of the biggest direct carbon capture and storage initiative in Australia is called Gorgon in Western Australia. And they have spent billions and billions of dollars trying to suck the carbon out of essentially fossil fuel production. Um, and if you look at the success rate, less than 1 million tons of carbon a year, a massive failure by all accounts, costs billions of dollars to do. And if you compare that to hemp, um, something like 66,000 hectares of hemp would sequester the same amount. Now that seems like quite a large figure, but if you look at plantation forests in Victoria alone, that represents somewhere between 10 and maybe 12% of the plantation timbers in Victoria. In other words, if we saw a switch around from plantation timbers to hemp at a scale of something like 10, 12, 13% in Victoria alone, it would be already improving on the successes that Chevron likes to talk about in Gorgon. And so to me, the opportunity of that kind of land-based, soil-based, improving the agricultural land through the sequestering of carbon is such a better deal, so much more effective, and so much bigger bang for buck than the stuff that's being done industrially through the fossil fuels industries.
There's a really helpful comparisons to try and understand the scale of what's possible and the impact it could have. And as we were looking through the data that it was being presented to the Australian government and to the UK government actually as well, to substantiate the audit trail for the carbon, they disregarded the carbon that was left in the ground, the carbon that was regenerating the soil. It's very hard to measure that as precisely, but that is a whole other benefit, a whole benefit where our friends started with. And I think it really reinforces the idea that natural systems are worth pursuing, perhaps in the first instance, for these major solutions that we need.
So I think that's it's a really good episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. It feels like it's very much the beginning of an industry, really, the start of it. And I do hope that they have all the success that they deserve. And I think you should be looking at to buy your next piece of furniture made from hemp in the not too distant future.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very inspiring, good news story in many ways and represents a lot of hard work, a real vision. Yeah.
See you next time.
See you next time.